he's referring to a text called Dode Gonjo, and it's a mind-only school text, because he wants to clarify the difference between these two kinds of mental images. You know, one, the difference between a construct and a changing thing, right? So one kind of mental image can be of a changing thing, right? And a changing thing in the mind-only school is called a shenhua, and it means it is brought about by the power of something else. Yeah. But another kind of mental image can be of a thing that has qualities of its own, and that kind of mental image is the gotcha. It's the thing to be denied. So Master Kamalashila is giving commentary on this text, and he's saying this text is literal. The reason why that's important is because Jetsun Kappa showed in The Essence of Eloquence on the Art of Interpretation that if a scholar writes a commentary on any of the schools and calls a statement which doesn't directly lead to a direct perception of emptiness literal, if they call that statement literal, then they are of a lower school than Madhyamika Prasangika, right? So Master Kamalashila, he's not one of these mind-only school people, but he's still saying that this statement of theirs is literal. Alright, this is getting into some murky stuff, but it's important to say, because then later in your studies, because you can say, there's a debate here, and you can say, oh, Master Kamalashila said that this statement, which is saying that there's a construct in your mind, right, which has no qualities. Wait, what was the definition of construct?
It has no defining characteristics.
Has no defining characteristics. And a changing thing, which comes from causes, right? That they're two different things. And he's saying it's literal. Then you could say, Master Kamalashila is mind-only school. But then, in Bok Jinpa II, in the second part of this book that we're studying, he's giving all this Madhyamika proofs of emptiness, right? He's giving all these proofs where you can apply the analysis to the nature of mind. You can eliminate that there's something out there existing on its own. Then you prove that it's a mental image, that what you're looking at is made of mind. And then you take that analysis, the one or many or whichever one it is, and then you find that mind itself is empty of it having any characteristics of its own. So then there's like a debate. On one hand, he's saying this statement is literal, right? That there's two different kinds of things. There's a construct which has no defining characteristics, and then there's a changing thing which has no qualities of its own. It's a caused thing, right? Right? Yeah, right? Has defining characteristics, but it's caused. Nominal, right? He's saying there's a difference there. You see? So the reason why it's important is because he's saying by recognizing that fact, then you're avoiding one of the two extremes, and therefore it's a statement which leads directly to the direct perception of emptiness. And that's why, maybe very uniquely, Master Kamalashila can say that this statement is literal and still not be a mind-only school practitioner. Okay? Now, just to refresh, mind-only school is steps 3 and 4 of the Mahamudra analysis, right? And you can see, 4. You can see how 4 is really, this is what part of what he's talking about, because 4 is saying even a mental affliction doesn't in and of itself deserve the label of anger or whatever. So then you can see, because a mental image has no defining characteristics, while a changing thing has defining characteristics but no qualities. Okay?
It's tough when you're doing these readings sometimes, like this reading, maybe, did you guys do the reading?
Yeah.
You're just like, ugh, yeah. Right? That's what I used to do, I used to be like, skim. And it's tough, but you have to really kind of, once you get the teaching on it, it helps unfold it a little, and then it keeps unfolding more and more and more. You just have to kind of stick to it, because it's actually important there. What they're getting you to is understanding the middle way, right? If you didn't understand that changing things do have defining characteristics nominally, you would think that changing things didn't exist at all.
Can you give an example?
Like a changing thing is anything, right? So like this actually has defining characteristics. They're saying it actually does have defining characteristics nominally, so it does exist deceptively. And then they're differentiating a construct, like something that you're imagining in your mind, that doesn't have any defining characteristics. So he's kind of establishing that there are two truths. You know, he's kind of saying that this is deceptive truth, and we're not denying it. You know, so it helps you stay in the middle way. You know, and that's the beautiful thing about learning the mind-only school. Even though there's all these little, like, you know, such details and all these terms and everything, but the beautiful thing is it keeps you from your mind making mistakes about what emptiness is. Because that's what the levels are all leading us to. Like studying the different schools teaches us about our own mistakes, you know, in trying to understand emptiness.
So, two kinds of mental images. One is a mental image of something that can exist. And another is a mental image of something that could never have existed ever in the first place. The one that can exist is a functioning thing, right? That has no qualities of its own. And the thing that can exist is a functioning thing that has qualities of its own. So the mental image of anything that has qualities is mistaken. It's a gotcha. That gotcha means the thing to be denied, right? It's an idea. It's like when we think of the self, like the self that needs to be protected by taking good things forward and pushing away bad things. That self is an idea which it's only an idea and it's wrong, and it leads to suffering.
It's a thing you think can exist, but no, it doesn't
exactly.
actually exist.
That John said it perfectly. It's a thing you think you could exist, but could never have existed in the first place. And as Geshe has been saying of late, it's the great fallacy, or irony, or whatever that he said. Irony, fallacy, fire, fallacy of the world. You know, that people are trying to protect something which never was there in the first place. Or like, you know, if a big, gigantic green elephant, if I said, watch out, there's a green elephant, and then you jumped over here and you pushed Maria and smushed her face down, you're like, get me out of here! That's a similar thing. That's you trying to protect yourself at other people's expense from this imagined idea, you know?
I think that's good. Yeah. We don't want to make it worse. Meditation? So we just have one more meditation and we're done. You do it?
Right?
Sure. Focus on your breath. Let let everything else just fall away. Gradually, one by one. Begin to lengthen your exhales. And just letting your inhale follow. Put your mind back to yesterday evening, where you were. Watch your mind thinking about that past moment of time that you are somehow connected to it. That you're remembering it. That is the gotcha. The thing that could never exist. Why? Because the moments of mind that you are thinking about, they're happening right now. They're ripening right now. You have no way of knowing that those images you have of yourself are actually your past. You have no way of validating. You don't know whether the images in your mind now are the same as they would be if you tried to recall them 2 hours ago. And you have no way of knowing whether the things you're thinking of as past actually ever occurred. Start to come back to your breathing. And then come back to the room when you're ready. So it's really interesting to me that, in a class that Lama Christie is presenting on omniscience, that there's this meditation on trying to find the line between past and present. Something she's teaching us a huge clue about how to get to an omniscient mind. That right now we're drawing, like Ori said, these arbitrary lines around things. But if you look, you can never find the edge of anything. You can never point to the edge of any object. You could never find the line between past and present either. And you can never find a line between you and something spatially you think is far from you or apart from you. So we're confined by time and space in this limited mind. An omniscient being doesn't have that line. They've figured out how to erase the lines. And And Lama Chrissy talks about, you know, when she taught this class, she talked about how in 3-year retreat she had this experience of looking up at the stars, and we normally think they're so far away, but in a moment she was able to perceive the beings that live on that planet, you know. And so that line just became completely erased for her. So just spend time when you're doing this meditation and try to look and try to understand it. We talked a little bit about it in Bok Jinpa II. Is the past really here? You can go back to your notes and what you know from that class and spend some time and try to find the teaching, like the deepest part of this teaching, why it has to do with the class on emotions.
I don't know if Yeshua said once that when he's in the bathroom, sometimes he goes like this, waving to his future self. He's saying, I'm coming. I know you're there. And the future is as much here as the past is.
Sashi Kogi Jushin Metocha Vira Vinci Ninde Impani Sangye Shindu Mite Uwagi Toku Nanda Shima Chupasho Yamura Hamada Kamiratayami Kewadi Kewoku Sanam Yeshe Tsotsoshi Sanam Yeshe Lejongwe Tongwa Kunyi Topasho.
Please keep teaching. Please keep teaching.
Please keep teaching us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
8:40.